Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're getting into a concept that's, well, it's ancient, but I think it's always relevant. Moksha. It's often described as, the ultimate liberation. Freedom from that cycle of birth and death, sure.
But more than that, right?
Exactly. It's also about freedom from the everyday stuff that ties us down. Our desires, attachments. That feeling of me, the ego.
And what's really striking is this isn't just one school of thought. You see this idea of moksha, this ultimate freedom, popping up everywhere in Indian philosophy.
Like where specifically?
Well, you look at Vedanta, Samkhya, yoga, even Bhakti. They all touch on this fundamental human, yearning for release. Makes you wonder, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does. Is there something just wired into us that seeks this?
Perhaps.
And to give you a real taste of it, there's this incredible line in the Bhagavad Gita.
Oh, yeah.
Krishna says that someone who attains Brahman, that, ultimate reality, they go beyond sorrow and desire.
Wow. Just think about that. No more constant wanting, no more sadness.
Yeah, imagine that state. That's kind of the territory we're exploring today.
And it's not just for, hermits in caves, is it? The story of King Janaka is fascinating here.
Right. He was a king, involved in all the complexities of ruling.
Dealing with politics, people, all of it.
Yet, he's held up as an example of someone who achieved this liberation while living that very full, engaged life.
It really makes you rethink things. Challenges those assumptions about needing to renounce everything. How could someone so involved in the world find that freedom?
Okay, so let's dig into that core idea a bit more. Moksha, what does it really mean?
Well, the sources we looked at emphasize freedom from delusion, mo, it's often called.
Delusion, like seeing things unclearly.
Yeah, and also freedom from maya, this sort of cosmic illusion we mistake for reality. And of course, that persistent sense of I, the ego, or ahankara.
Well, it's like peeling away layers of misunderstanding to get to what's real underneath.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And while the different philosophies might, describe these veils, delusion, illusion, ego, using slightly different terms, the basic drive is the same. To see past them, to reach a state that's not burdened by them. It's like different ways of describe the same deep longing.
Okay, so that's the what. How about the how? How do people actually move towards this?
Right, the practical side. Our sources lay out 4 main paths, 4 yogas. Think of them as different routes up the same mountain.
Catering to different personalities, maybe?
Precisely. Some people are more intellectual, some more emotional, some action-oriented. These paths kind of align with those temperaments. But the goal, realizing your true nature, that's the same for all.
Let's start with the intellectual one then, Jnana yoga.
Jnana yoga, yeah. The path of knowledge. The core practice here is self-inquiry, asking that fundamental question again and again. Who am I?
And that's not just thinking about it, is it?
No, it's deeper. It's about using your wisdom, your intellect, to really discriminate between what's permanent, what's real.
And what's just temporary, changing appearances.
Exactly. The unchanging truth versus the stuff that's always shifting.
And this connects to Advaita Vedanta, right? Adi Shankaracharya's philosophy.
Spot on. Advaita emphasizes non-duality. The idea that ultimately your individual soul and the ultimate reality, they aren't separate, they're one.
That's a pretty radical concept of oneness.
It is. And there's a great story that illustrates this intense search for knowledge. Nachiketa and Yama from the Katha Upanishad.
Oh, remind me.
Nachiketa, this young boy, he basically corners Yama, the god of death. He's not interested in temporary pleasures or easy answers.
He wants the big truths.
Yes. He pushes Yama for the deepest knowledge about life, death, what comes after. That relentless thirst for truth, that's the heart of jnana yoga.
Okay, so from knowledge to devotion, bhakti yoga.
Bhakti yoga. For a lot of people, this feels more maybe accessible, more direct. It's all about surrender to the divine.
Cultivating intense love, faith.
A really personal connection with, well, whatever you conceive of as sacred. It's the yoga of the heart, you could say.
And the power is in that emotion.
Absolutely. The transformative power of that deep emotional connection. Think of Mirabai.
The poet saint.
Yeah, her incredible devotion to Krishna just poured out in her songs, shaped her whole life. Many believe it led her straight to liberation.
And Hanuman's devotion to Rama.
Another perfect example. That unwavering loyalty and love. These aren't just nice stories. They show how intense love can actually dissolve the ego.
Makes you think about the power of our own connections, doesn't it?
It really does.
Okay, next up. Karma yoga, the path of action.
Now, this isn't just about being busy. It's specifically about nishkama karma,
Which means?
selfless action, acting without getting attached to the results, to the fruits of your actions.
So doing your duty just because it's the right thing, not because you want praise or reward, or even because you fear failure.
Exactly. You do the work, but you let go of the outcome, which is, let's be honest, really hard in our world. Right?
Yeah, totally. We're so focused on results.
And Arjuna's dilemma in the Gita is the classic example here.
Facing his family on the battlefield.
Right. He's paralyzed. He's attached to the outcome, to the people involved. And Krishna's whole teaching is about understanding your duty, your dharma.
And acting on it, but without that emotional entanglement in what happens next.
It's about the intention, the purity of why you're doing it.
Okay, that's 3. What's the 4th path?
Raja Yoga, often called the royal path. This one is more about meditation and control of the mind.
A more disciplined, systematic approach.
Very much so. Think of Patanjali's Eightfold Path. It's a step-by-step guide.
What are the steps, roughly?
It covers ethical conduct, physical postures, the asanas people often associate with yoga, breath control, withdrawing the senses.
Pulling your attention inward.
Exactly. Then concentration, meditation, and finally it culminates in samadhi.
Samadhi, that's the goal.
That's the ultimate stage in Raja Yoga, yes. A state of super conscious absorption, where your individual awareness kind of merges with the universal.
Like total stillness and clarity.
Imagine a perfectly calm lake reflecting the sky without a ripple. That's maybe a glimpse of it.
Wow. So these are the paths. But underlying all of them is this idea of karma, our actions.
Absolutely crucial. The sources really stress this. Every action creates a ripple. It shapes what comes next.
Either binding us more tightly to the cycle,
or helping us move towards liberation. It's a cosmic cause and effect.
and this links to Dharma, right? Doing your righteous duty.
Yes, Dharma acts as a guide for our karma, for our actions. Look at Rama in the Ramayana.
Always fulfilling his Dharma, no matter the cost.
Unwavering commitment. Or Bhishma in the Mahabharata, sticking to his vows, his Dharma, even when it was incredibly difficult.
These stories really show the weight of living according to your principles.
They do. But it's not always about grand, epic actions either. The story of Ajamila is quite something.
What happened with him?
Well, he apparently lived a pretty questionable life, not very virtuous at all. But right at the moment of death, perhaps out of desperation or reflex, he called out the Lord's name. And that simple act
Yes.
is said to have granted him moksha, redemption.
Just like that, despite his past.
It seems so. It really speaks to the power of devotion. Maybe even just a moment of pure intention or surrender right at the end. Makes you wonder.
It definitely does. The power of intention.
Which brings us nicely to another key idea. Detachment. Vairagya.
Letting go of attachments.
Yes. The texts emphasize this again and again. Freeing ourselves from desires and attachments is, well, essential on the path.
Because chasing desires leads to suffering.
Often, yes. Or dissatisfaction, at least. True peace, the sources suggest, comes from rising above them.
Are there examples of this, people known for detachment?
Well, certainly. King Partrahari is one. He supposedly had everything, wealth, power, but realized how temporary it all was and renounced his kingdom.
Wow. And Shukdev.
He was said to be born in a state of detachment, just completely free from worldly ties from the start.
They chose inner freedom over, well, everything else.
A radical shift in perspective, as you said earlier.
Yeah.
And there's another really interesting source of wisdom on detachment, Rishi Dattatreya.
What's his story?
He's said to have had 24 gurus, teachers. But they weren't people.
No. What were they?
Nature. The earth, the wind, the sky, animals. He learned from observing them.
How so? Give me an example.
Well, like learning contentment from a python that just accepts whatever food comes its way. Or learning non-attachment from the wind, which blows everywhere but doesn't cling to anything.
That's beautiful, finding lessons in the natural world.
It's a reminder that wisdom is everywhere, if we just open our eyes and observe.
Okay, so as someone walks these paths, practices detachment, what does that feel like? Are there, stages or states before full moksha?
Yes, the text describes some interesting interim states. One is Jivan Mukti.
Jivan Mukti, liberated while living.
Exactly. Enlightenment while still in the physical body. Think of Kabir's famous line.
Which one?
When I was, Hari was not. Now Hari is, and I am no more. That sense of the ego dissolving into the divine.
Powerful.
And Ramana Maharshi is often seen as a modern example. Attaining liberation largely through his own intense self-inquiry, without necessarily a formal guru for that final step.
So it's possible within this life.
That's the idea of Jivan Mukti. Then there's Videha Mukti,
Yes.
liberation after the physical body dies, the final, complete release from the cycle.
And we already mentioned Samadhi.
Right, that state of deep absorption experienced in meditation. It's seen as a powerful taste, maybe, a step towards that ultimate freedom.
Now, some of the yogic texts talk about energy systems, kundalini, chakras. How does that fit into moksha?
Ah, yes. For those who follow certain yogic paths, this is central. The idea is that there's this potent spiritual energy, kundalini.
Lying dormant at the base of the spine.
Usually, yes. And through specific practices, it can be awakened.
And then on.
It's guided upwards through the energy centers, the chakras, purifying and balancing them along the way.
Okay.
And the ultimate goal in that framework is for this awakened energy to reach the crown chakra, the Sahasrara.
At the top of the head.
Yes. And that union is seen as the merging of the individual soul, the Jivatma, with the supreme soul, Paramatma.
So the realization of that fundamental unity we talked about earlier.
Exactly. That's considered the pinnacle of yoga and synonymous with moksha in that context.
Okay, so let's imagine someone has actually reached this state, whether Jivan Mukti or nearing it. What would they be like? What are the signs?
Well, the descriptions consistently point to a few key things. Deep, unwavering inner peace is one.
Just a profound sense of calm, regardless of circumstances.
Yes. And unconditional love for all beings. Along with equanimity, that ability to stay balanced, not thrown off by highs or lows.
No more emotional roller coaster.
Pretty much. They're said to be free from negative emotions like anger, fear, anxiety, the things that cause us so much trouble.
Unaffected by pleasure and pain, gain and loss.
They experience them, sure, they're still human, but they're not defined or controlled by them. They see them as part of the play of Maya, not their true self.
And we have historical examples.
People often point to figures like the Buddha, Mahavir, Ramana Maharshi, Neem Karoli Baba. Individuals believe to embody these qualities. They serve as inspirations.
So bringing this all together, let's look back at some core teachings from the texts themselves.
Good idea. The Bhagavad Gita has that incredibly direct invitation, doesn't it?
Surrender everything to me and I will liberate you.
A powerful call for total trust, total devotion.
And the Upanishads, it's a famous phrase.
Tat pivamasi.
Thou art that.
Yes. Such a profound statement. It just hammers home that inherent oneness. You are that ultimate reality. It's not separate from you.
A reminder of our own sort of innate divinity.
Precisely.
And what about the Yoga Vasistha?
Ah, yes. The story there of the sage Vasistha guiding Prince Rama towards moksha.
What does that highlight?
It really underscores the importance of wisdom, of guidance, of deep understanding. It's not just about practice, practice, practice. You also need the right knowledge, the right perspective.
Makes sense. You need both the map and the willingness to walk the path.
Well put.
So, as we wrap up this deep dive, it feels like moksha isn't just this, I don't know, distant endpoint.
No, not at all. That's a key takeaway from the sources. It's really an ongoing process, a journey.
And our daily lives. They're part of it.
Absolutely. Every day offers chances to practice awareness, to let go of things that bind us, to cultivate detachment, to act selflessly.
Tiny steps towards that greater freedom.
Exactly. Each moment is an opportunity for progress.
Okay. So on that note, maybe a final thought for everyone listening to consider. If moksha is fundamentally about freedom from the ego, freedom from desires, what's maybe one small thing, just one attachment or desire you notice in yourself? What if you could just observe it today without judging it, without immediately acting on it? Just watch it and see if maybe, just maybe, that creates a tiny bit of space for something else, something perhaps a little more peaceful.